everyone. Welcome back to the latest episode of We've All Done It. I am your host, Kimberly Benoit, and I am excited you're here because today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. This is going to be the first in 3 different episodes centered around how to create a highly engaged team. One of the things that I think is most obvious and what I hear so much about is, particularly since the pandemic, is the struggle to have an engaged team. And I have very vivid memories of we had gone remote and suddenly it was a crisis, a fevered pitch of our engagement had gone down. People were not showing up as their normal selves. Now, granted, we were dealing with a pandemic, but it begged the question of, well, what were you doing before to have an engaged team versus what you're trying to do now? And that question led to a variety of answers. And so I want to boil it down for you into 3 things. And today we're going to focus on the first one. But 3 basic practical things every single leader can do to produce a more engaged team. So why does this matter, right? Engagement is pivotal in whether or not people will stay on your team, stay with your company, whether they are going to show up and do their best work, or if they're just going to kind of phone it in. And the biggest reason why I think you should care is research has found that on the global scale, a low engagement is costing organizations $8.8 trillion. That's a T. $1 trillion. Because what happens is we know every time we lose a team member, the cost to backfill that person isn't just, we can look at it in cost and dollars and cents, but the reality is it also is such an emotional drain on you and your team. The work still has to get done. And every single time a person leaves, it puts more pressure on who remains and getting them to maybe start questioning things and asking, why are they there? And, it kind of can snowball. So we are going to start, like I said, boiled it down to 3 things. So today we're going to start with the very first element that I think every leader really needs to think about. And that is around the idea of concern. Genuine concern for each member of your team. Now, I can almost hear people saying, well, yeah, I care about my team. Yeah. Okay. So let's break it down into some basics, right? So, because I don't want anybody to feel defensive about it. But when you are sitting down with your team, so first off, do you have committed time with your team, each team member? Like, do you have dedicated, non-negotiable, we are going to sit down and talk about whatever you want to talk about and whatever I need to talk about with you? So that is important. Do you have dedicated time? Because in that one action, you are showing that you are making space for that person, that meeting with that individual is important to you. I can recall a leader that I was aware of who would do group meetings all the time. Like he would always have 2 or 3 people because he had a lot of people reporting to him. And it absolutely destroyed the morale on his team because they never felt that they were safe enough to have private conversations with him without other people being in the room. He just never made space for them. And then he would give them critical feedback that maybe would have been better in a one-on-one situation versus in front of their peer group. So again, you're communicating something through action. So it's not necessarily the words you're using, it's the actions you're taking. So when you think about concern, I would heavily invite you to think about, what are my actions saying to those who report to me? So again, do you have specific time set aside? And if you don't, really think about what that message is. Like, what message are you sending? How would you feel if your leader never made space for you? Like, you are struggling with something, you have maybe a performance problem, or you have some kind of political landmine you're trying to navigate, and your leader basically just never made space for you. That would really suck. Same thing for your team. They want that access to you. They want you to make space for them so that they feel important to you. So that's number one. So ask yourself that question, number one. And then what I would do is say, what are you expecting? So like when you get that time with them, how does that time actually look? Okay. So for instance, I like to bring this one up a lot because everyone's guilty of this to some degree. So when you're meeting with someone in a one-on-one, how often do you look at the notifications on your phone, your email, or your Apple Watch? So I will tell you again, not necessarily the words you're using, but the actions you're taking. I can't tell you how infuriating it is if I'm having like a very important conversation with someone. And I've seen leaders that I adore do this. I've done it to people. That doesn't mean it's okay. But like I'm having some, like it's a very important topic that needs to be addressed. And then I know in an instant I have lost them when they look down at that Apple Watch on their wrist. They're gone. And they will inevitably say, oh, keep going. But I immediately know I have lost you and you are no longer with me. And the message you have then communicated through your action is whatever I'm saying really isn't that important. So it's great you made time for me, but if you're actually not literally giving me your attention, then you're wasting it. Like then it's essentially like you're checking a box. And no employee wants to feel like their box being checked. They want to feel that what they're saying matters, their concerns matter. They want your advice on how to navigate the world that we're in right now. I know sometimes people may not think that they want you, like they're seeking your advice. I know some leaders who are like, I think my teams hate me. But the truth is if you make space for them and they start to trust you, they will ask you for help. They need your help. They need your guidance. And that is so incredibly important. But your actions have to show that you're willing to even give it in the first place. And then what I would say is so when we're so there's two things right out of the gate that you can ask yourself. Do I have committed time with each team member? And I'm not saying this has to be every week, people. Like, you know, if it needs to be once a month or whatever it is that works, but it's something that you commit to and you keep consistent. And you're going to hear those messages come up a lot in the future in upcoming episodes. So are you sending the right message there? And then when you're physically with them, are you with them? Are you genuinely present with them? And that they feel that the time that they have with you, even if it's just 15 minutes, is engaged. You are engaged with them for that amount of time. I'm not saying it has to be an hour. You know, I understand like having worked in healthcare, sometimes 10 minutes is all you need. Then you be fully present for that 10 minutes. You can do that. I mean, I understand it could be tough, but you can absolutely do that. So I just kind of want to wrap this up a little bit because again, we're going to have 2 more episodes and I want to make this seem as practical and approachable as it actually is. But this is the foundation of starting to change the culture on your team, whether or not people feel valued. Because let's be honest, at the end of the day, engagement is really tied to, for some people, it may be, you know, money or whatever, but people want to ultimately feel like they are seen, they are valued, and that you care. Like at some level, there's a genuine level of care and concern about who they are and how they're showing up every day and what they need to do a good job. So again, recap. 1, make sure you have time carved out for each person. 2, give them your attention, not your email, not your cell phone, not your Apple Watch, them. Make eye contact. Like even right now, how I am sitting with you, I am directly facing the camera. This works in virtual world too. This isn't just about being in person. This is meaningful in a remote environment. You know, don't have multiple screens and make it clear that like you're just looking at another screen half the time, like, or that you're tight, like whatever it is, you fully engage. Ask them meaningful questions to show you're listening. Paraphrase back to them, show you're listening. Again, just be present for the amount of time you're there. So if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, just be present with them. And if you need to divert, so let's say you have some emergency thing, tell them so that if there is an interruption, it's expected and understood. Because I'll be very clear, like that happens. But you have to communicate. You have to be very transparent about things. It's about the respect you're giving, just like it's the respect you want to receive from your leadership. So again, I just want to say you can absolutely do this. I want you to go out and try a little bit of this. Again, there's no judgment in any of this. I have made the same mistakes. I know when I'm waiting for important emails to come through, and sometimes people want to talk about stuff that I don't necessarily think is important, but it's important to them. It's not about you in that moment. If you're making space for your team and you are truly worried about creating a very engaged system around you, you have to put them first at times, and you have to care about what they care about. You have to understand what is actually even important to them. And to do that, you have to be present and you have to be genuine. So, yay. So that is the foundation. I want you to go out, try some things with your team. If you don't have stuff, just set a goal to get some meetings, some regular meetings on the calendar. That's a huge step in and of itself. You're sending a message without saying a word. And then again, the same thing, like if you don't turn off those notifications, or if that iWatch, if that Apple Watch, if that hit a little too close to home, take the watch off and put it somewhere else on your desk. Take it off. Whatever it is that allows you to be successful, do those things. So go try them. Pretty please, go give them an attempt. And then what I want you to do is let me know what worked. So right here, if you're watching me on YouTube, there's a QR code. You can sign up for my newsletter. I do this once a week, and there's a lot of information in there, but I have a lot of open dialogue back and forth with people who get my email. So you can definitely sign up for that, but you can just email me. My information's in the notes. So let me know what works for you in this one lesson. What did you try? What works? What didn't work? And let us see if we can help you navigate this first step. Because this really is the foundation of everything else you need to do in order to continue to grow that engaged culture on your team. And lastly, I just want to add, and this again will also be in the show notes, is I am incredibly excited to, as part of the 1-year anniversary of We've All Done It podcast, like the podcast and the book, is I have, if you're thinking about getting it and you haven't read it yet, but you're not sure, I now am offering a free sample reading for you to check out. And so again, if you're watching this on YouTube, there's a QR code for you to check it out. And if not, if you're listening to this somewhere else, check out your show notes. There'll be a link there for you if you want to get that free sample reading. Again, I'm just feel so privileged that you have joined me today, and just until we meet again, I'll see you later.